Sci-fi shows are often cancelled before their time, leaving viewers waiting for a sequel that never comes. Some makers have avoided this by giving us short, excellent sci-fi shows that you can binge in a day. On the other hand, once a sci-fi TV series surpasses a certain length, it seems more likely that it will be allowed to end properly, or even continue indefinitely. While some of the longest-running sci-fi shows have their low points, some of the best have lasted for more than 5 seasons without a single bad episode. Getting invested in one of these can be time-consuming, especially in the case of series with multiple spin-offs. However, many of the best sci-fi TV shows of all time are long-running and worth the time commitment. Stargate SG-1. Of all the many TV show genres to watch, sci-fi tends to attract the most passionate and invested fanbase. This is likely because sci-fi can often be ahead of its time, not just in theme but also in representation and the inclusion of non-stereotypical characters. Stargate SG-1 is a great example of this, and the show still has a dedicated following years after it ended. The best characters from the Stargate franchise are still beloved sci-fi icons, and SG-1 evolved past the initial Planet of the Week format, bringing us complex arcs and questions. The show begins with a military team's expedition to explore the galaxy and protect Earth, and it combines action and humor with hard sci-fi, making it a great show to get invested in. Stranger Things Movie Stills DB. Stranger Things is more ambitious than its first season appeared to be, and this development has turned the show from a fantastic piece of 1980s nostalgia to a cultural phenomenon. People who love the works of Stephen King and iconic movies like Stand By Me will likely be invested from the beginning, but there is now much more to Stranger Things. The 4 released seasons of Stranger Things have grown progressively darker, so fans of genuinely scary horror should get invested. The show has introduced body horror, some heartbreaking moments, and greater questions about human nature and the best way to combat despair. The show's developing message that the community should stand together against growing evil is worth the wait. Babylon 5. Game of Thrones fans should get invested in Babylon 5, as it contains many of the same themes. The show is mostly set on a space station which serves as a neutral ground for diplomats and traders, making it the perfect setup for political intrigue and interspecies disputes. Babylon 5 has one of the best sci-fi storylines of all time, and a committed writing team throughout. While Babylon 5 had a messy ending, the show's creator, J. Michael Straczynski, was dedicated to making it work, so it was much less controversial than the rushed Game of Thrones ending, and wraps up the storyline. Babylon 5 is extremely detailed and in-depth, while its characters are compelling, and the show's influence can be seen in later sci-fi masterpieces. The X-Files. While The X-Files is a great sci-fi show, its police procedural format also makes it one of the best detective TV shows of all time. Mulder and Scully are an iconic duo, and their dynamic of believer and skeptic made the show the success that it became. Even now, The X-Files influences TV shows of many genres, with Scully standing out as a groundbreaking character. The Scully effect was credited for an increase in women applying for education in STEM fields, and unlike many special effects in The X-Files, the character has stood the test of time. The X-Files Monster of the Week format makes it easy to get invested in, and while the show changed course over its 11 seasons, it is well worth the commitment. The Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone revolutionized the TV industry by using horror and sci-fi as social commentary. While the visual effects in the show may have aged terribly, this adds to the creepy tone and does not affect the episodes, many of which are still relevant today. One of the standouts is Eye of the Beholder, which highlights the absurdity of beauty standards. The episodes of The Twilight Zone are short, standalone pieces, making the show easy to watch and commit to, and even the 1980s revival has terrifying moments that rival the original. Some of the best are in the Twilight Zone stories written by George R.R. Martin. The series featured other talented people who later became famous, making it a great show to start. Lost. Lost's mind-bending plot took fan theory discussions to mainstream culture, and the show's ending can still confuse people who did not see the show or understand the context. It is one thing to know what the show is about and pick up a few twists, but this is no replacement for watching the original show, which is worth the commitment. Lost is a genre-mixing fantasy TV show that lived up to its amazing pilot. The first few episodes alone introduce several mysteries at once that could have overwhelmed many other shows. However, the acting in Lost is what makes it so compelling, and the skill of the ensemble cast remains consistently excellent right up to its final moments. Black Mirror. Black Mirror is one of the best anthology series of all time, and its approach is different from most other sci-fi shows. It can, at times, resemble a modern version of The Twilight Zone, but with an even darker tone. Each episode of Black Mirror takes an existing concept, like AI or social media, and explores the worst implications, pushing it to its terrifying limits. While not every episode of Black Mirror will resonate with everyone, this is exactly what makes the show worth investing time in. Many episodes of Black Mirror are masterpieces, but this can sometimes be dependent on the viewer, who will respond to different episodes at different times. As technology is constantly evolving, Black Mirror will always feel fresh, exciting, and disturbing. Doctor Who credit, BBC via MovieStills.db. Many great works of sci-fi explore the question of what it means to be human, but Doctor Who does this better than any. The constantly evolving story and shape-shifting main character might be intimidating for new viewers who want to start watching but don't know where to begin, and a good place to start is with David Tennant's Doctor. Doctor Who has been described as the greatest sci-fi TV show of all time, for the way that it updates itself for its audience. The companions have become integral to the story rather than eye candy, and while monsters like the Daleks were always terrifying for their deliberate resemblance to Nazis, the show still outdoes itself with new threats like the Weeping Angels. The Expanse. The sci-fi genre can often require a suspension of disbelief, but The Expanse has been praised by astrophysicists for its factual approach to space. The show feels as though it was designed for people who love in-depth and intelligent sci-fi that feels real, and rather than bogging down the story by explaining the world at the start, The Expanse trusts its viewers to catch up. The show is virtually perfect in every way, from its writing and visual effects to its character development. It is more complex than many sci-fi tropes with heroes and villains, instead featuring morally grey characters that keep you guessing. Rather than ending on a cliffhanger or drawn-out extra spin-offs, The Expanse lands properly, with a satisfying ending that is worth waiting for. Star Trek. The ever-expanding universe of Star Trek might have its highs and lows, but the series is ultimately well worth becoming.